have a prototype of a new game from Wanderer's Tome, the creators of Flabbergasted. Oh my goodness, it brings back memories. My parents would bring home like a newspaper. It's such an old, tactile feeling that I miss. Let's see what we've got here. Deadline is a GM-less news-chronicling and map-making TTRPG from the award-winning creators of Flabbergasted. In this game, players will don a quill and cap and take on the roles of journalists for the largest news publishing house in the city. What city, you ask? Well, that's for you to create and develop together with up to 3 friends or on your own in solo mode. The entire system is in this newspaper. I will try to run through it once. It's very easy to read. It's very fun to read. Let's give it a shot, shall we? So one of my favorite ways to create lore, whether it be a character's backstory or the history of an item, NPC, or location, is through events. And that's exactly what Deadline is here to help with. Now there's a special caveat here. The types of cities that Deadline is designed for is those influenced by the Industrial Revolution, blended with low magic elements. Some examples of these types of cities include Midgar from Final Fantasy VII and Piltover from League of Legends. Now what I really love about this means of developing the city is that it's a game. It's not just brainstorming ideas, which is fun too, but here you get to establish the city and play as though you're a journalist writing about what's going on. It's designed for 1 to 4 players, so if you wanted just a fun way to build on your own, perfect. But there's a special part of me that's super excited to present this to a table of players, so we can build a city together, which we could use in a future campaign. But let's give it a shot so you can see how easy and fun it can be to play Deadline. So it looks like we're going to start with our establishment phase. We're going to generate ideas of our city on our city record sheet. First, city environment. I rolled a 5, which represents a canal city. A city with a network of waterways throughout, with buildings and paths designed around these canals. The prompt says to draw the border of the city, with a network of canals weaving through it. Next, we divide the map into 8 districts. This seems pretty solid. I did kind of start with a semicircular design, so it's almost like a cake. I kind of picture that the interior might be a little bit taller than the exterior. Alright, now for our political climate. Looks like I've got a 6 for technocracy. Governance, where decision makers are a group of technical experts. Decisions are made by experts in various fields. That's pretty cool. The people in the know are making the choices. Now it's time for power source. I got a 6, which means arcane power source. Arcane magic flows like a living current throughout your city. There's another prompt that says, what is the source of this arcane magic and how is it captured, stored, and utilized? So I love that it's a canal city, and I wonder if maybe that plays a big role. Maybe magic water flows through after bringing arcane energy from a spring in the center. Let's see what our primary industry is gonna be. I rolled a 6 and a 2 for 8. Mechanical prosthetics. The main industry in your city is wearable technology, which takes on the form of mechanical enhancements. Most opt to use and install them. And the prompt says, what do these enhancements do? I think it'd be cool if these enhancements held the liquid, the magical liquid, distilled from the springs to provide strength, speed, or even special abilities like flight. Now, arcane influence. 3 plus 3 for 6. Eternal fog. A thick fog blankets your city, never lifting. Ooh. And the prompt says, how does this perpetual mist influence the city's daily activities? So then the fog probably makes visibility quite difficult. It could probably influence breathing. Maybe the magical energies are too volatile to be able to breathe directly, so people would have to have breathing apparatuses to walk around. And now some notable features. So before we establish a few more things, we have some stuff to draw. I did jump around a little bit just because, I don't know, I felt a little inspired here. I started with the place of worship, a little monastery, and then a grand observatory. It feels like it would be on the upper tiers too. A bridge, and in this case, when I rolled bridge, there was a part of me that was like, okay, typically bridges connect to land masses across water, but I thought maybe it'd be fun to have the bridge be the connection between the lower level and the higher levels. And so that's how they make sure that we do have a clear distinction between the aristocratic dwellings and the slum and residential dwellings. So maybe the bridge is what separates the aristocrats from the regular folk. And then it makes sense that the factory would be where the regular folk live on the bottom levels. Clock tower at the very top, so then everyone can see what time it is. An academic institution. It made sense that the academic institution would be next to the Grand Observatory. Theater feels like it could be up there too, but maybe a little bit closer to the bridge, so everyone can access it. Maybe as a special treat. And maybe the market would be somewhere where it'd it'd be easy for the aristocrats to access, and it'd be a little bit of a pain for the regular folk to access. Although this could be a special market. Like maybe there's regular markets, and then this is the grand market. And then the town square, right smack dab in the center. And then I think a guild hall would make sense on the main level. Because if it's a situation where you're adventuring, I guess it depends on what kind of campaign you want to run. But I kind of feel like it'd be a great access point for anyone who's on the lower level to maybe earn their way up to the higher levels. And it'd also easily access the realms beyond. I've already established the aristocratic dwellings being up above, so it makes sense right there. And then we have to throw in our residential dwellings. I feel like these would be reasonable spots to put them. And then the slums right there. So I've run a few campaigns in some cities where there's a upper crust, a literal upper crust. And for some reason it seemed like the upper crust always liked to be able to literally look down on the poorer people. So, well, we could do that here. And then we might be able to create some uprising stuff. Who knows? But now we go to phase 2, the chronicling phase. This is where we grab our broadsheet and we jump in. Here's where we can choose our newspaper tone, the name of the newspaper, and then we can play. As far as the tone of the newspaper goes, I feel like it'd be a little bit more fun to write from the perspective of the working class or the poorer folk in the city. Then we can roast the aristocrats, right? Maybe like meat and potatoes. And as far as the tone, then maybe it could be a little more biting, maybe a little funny, so satirical. Now the next step after having established the tone in the name is to jump into the news cycle, where each player will take turns, or in my case, just me, but I get to write the headlines. In one news cycle, it consists of 6 headlines, and the instructions suggest doing 1 to 3 news cycles. As far as the 6 headlines go, it starts with an arcane headline, 4 minor headlines, and then the major headline. For the arcane headline, I've got impossible geometry. A strange and incomprehensible building materializes out of thin air. What is this building? Can inhabitants enter the structure? What can be found inside? That sounds very interesting. By the way, it does suggest that when it comes to these headlines, you can depict them as events that appear in the map too. I would love if this strange, incomprehensible structure materializes in the slums. I think it'd be pretty cool if it were very ornate, ancient, maybe something that the aristocrats would love to have in their part of town, but when it appears, suddenly they're jealous. Can inhabitants enter the structure? Yes, I think it'd be pretty cool if our slum inhabitants and residential inhabitants are able to go in. What can be found inside? It's arcane? What if this provides another magic source? Perhaps the aristocrats have, because of their wealth, been able to maintain their wealth and status because of being able to afford the best technological enhancements. But what if this has some ancient yet unknown magical powers, and now the lower classes are able to access that? Ooh, this could create some unrest. I dig that. I dig that. Now for the minor headlines. First I rolled a 1 for the political minor headlines and a 15 for internal conflict. Tensions are rising within the ruling authority of the city. What are the causes of these disputes? How does this affect citizens? I think that arcane headline might be a big part of it. I could see the ruling class having to deal with aristocrats saying they should have access to this arcane tech first, while the representatives that are looking out for the people in the slums and the residential section are trying to keep the peace. And maybe there might be some questions about oversight of this new mysterious technology too. If it should be governed, if it's even safe. The next headline we've got 5 takes us into infrastructure and innovation. The first thing is a worker strike. Oh my gosh. Okay. A large-scale worker strike has erupted in the city. What industries are the workers from? What are their demands? What form does the strike take? Maybe I'm connecting a little bit too much with what we've created with the arcane headline, but I could see the workers being able to perhaps tap into that ancient technology, making their products faster, higher quality, and as a result, they want higher pay. Of course, the upper class doesn't want to do that, and they want this tech for themselves so they can be the ones in charge, in control of this arcane technology. So then the workers, the lower class, classes stop producing for the upper class. Maybe they start forming their own sections where they'll sell to their own on the lower tiers, but then charge premiums for the aristocrats. I might be jumping a little too far ahead right now. The next one we've got is also infrastructure and innovation, drilling expansion. An expansion in drilling routes uncovers a new valuable resource. What resource was uncovered and how will it be utilized? Okay, so then in that case, maybe the aristocrats, because they have claim to the land, they make it so the lower class that have gone on strike aren't able to access their lands for drilling. And so then they look for new places and they're able to find this new resource, maybe something more powerful. And I could see it perhaps enhancing their ancient technology. Maybe even that ancient technology leads them towards it. Okay, for my fourth and final minor headline, technology revolt. Citizens are revolting against a new form of technology. What is this technology and why is the population resisting it? I feel like we're already there. The ancient technology that they were able to uncover from that sudden appearance of this structure, the aristocrats are rebelling against it. I could also see some members of the lower class thinking, this isn't safe, we shouldn't be touching this, we don't know what it will do. And so the aristocrats have their own little pocket of resistance, there's the lower class that have their own pocket of resistance, and then there's the people that have been downtrodden for too long, and so they want to make the progress, and they're able to make the progress, and engage in trade, and rise up. And now for the major headline. Look, can I just say, it's falling together really well. Economic collapse. Oh my goodness. The city faces a severe economic collapse. What are the main causes of this collapse? How is this affecting the citizens' daily lives and the city's infrastructure? I could see perhaps in this moment, with this upheaval, with the new tech versus the old tech, with the rich versus the poor, there's a lot of infighting. And as such, any sort of trade or anything like that with other neighboring cities, it all goes down the toilet. It becomes like a bidding war. And maybe that's what caused the collapse. Because now the neighbors are thinking, oh, I want this. The other side is trying to undercut them. They're all negotiating. It's this massive battle where it becomes more about spite than actually getting a good, fair deal. As a result, the main proponents of both sides are pushing so far forward that most people are suffering. The people that are pushing might not be noticing because they're thinking, I got a victory here, I got a victory there, but the people around them are suffering. Their currencies are going down the drain. Okay, we've got these headlines set up with our meat and potatoes paper, and we've kind of gone through a little bit of what the story is. And since our paper is writing from the poorer side, willing to attack the wealthy, we can write some pretty fun, fairly biased, scathing articles. Okay, I think that's a great start. Just constructing these elements has been a ton of fun already. And at this point, I just want to say big thank you to Fleur and Chelsea of the Wanderer's Tome for being willing to send me a prototype so I could test this out. Of course, I've loved their other products in the past, so I already knew that I would love this one. I just didn't realize how inspiring it could be for my creativity. As a matter of fact, I want to play in this city now. Maybe I'll run a game there sometime, we'll see. But that's it for my first look at Deadline. If you want to check this out, I provided a link so you could check it out in the description below. And honestly, I'm just excited to give this a shot with a group. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe and take care.